Welcome to the Women's Bar Association of Illinois Cable Show, and I am your co-host, Judge Patrice Ball Reed. My co-host, Judge Jessica O'Brien, will be speaking with you in some moments, but first I'm going to introduce our guest for this day. Our guest today is Susana Meza. She is the Vice President of Marketing at Wintrust Financial Corporation. It is a financial holding company that is based in Lake Forest. She began her career there in 2002, and prior to beginning her career there, she had graduated from DePaul University on the Dean's List. And this evening we're going to talk about her position there and how they reach out to the community and help us all in terms of financial holdings that we may have in the future. So I'm going to have Judge Jessica O'Brien speak to you now.
Thank you for that intro.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Susana.
Thank you for
It's
having me.
so good to have you here, but a little bit intimidating because I have no knowledge about financings. So this is great. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into the details about the banking industry, I wanted to look into your background and learn a little bit more about you. So you were born and raised here in Chicago.
Born and raised here in Chicago with my parents
Okay.
and my grandparents from my mom's side. My sister.
Okay. Your
Who's now
grandparent,
29.
your mom's mom raised you.
In a household with four of them. So it's an extended family household.
Okay.
So my parents and my grandma and grandpa from my mom's side.
Where's your mom from?
Mexico.
Mexico. Okay.
Yeah.
And your mom moved here
When she was 6.
What about your dad?
When he was 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did your dad do for a living?
Drove for CTA.
Okay, and your mom?
Was a nurse.
Nurse, okay. But you entered the financial industry.
I know. I didn't expect to.
Yeah, how did that happen?
I was at an ad agency out of college. Actually, I did an internship program because DePaul has this wonderful requirement. Now it's a blessing that they make you get an internship in order to graduate. So I applied for an internship at an ad agency by the name of Citygate. It was publicly traded under the Incepta Group out of London. And then they hired me. It was the first time they had ever hired an intern.
Wow.
So I'm there, everything's going great. I'm paired up with the business development VP.
So your major in DePaul was
Dual.
business?
At College of Commerce
Okay.
and the College of Communications, because I did a dual with journalism and marketing.
And Dean's List.
And business.
That is great. Did you have any friends?
I was on the school newspaper on the DePaulia, so I think I'm the type that sat in front of the classroom kind of nerdy, you know.
So, but it was finance that you were interested in.
No, I was actually interested in consumer packaged goods, like the
Okay.
sexy type of marketing, you know, the one that everyone wants. So I'm at the agency after, September 11th happens. I start to notice that it's an open floor plan in the office, so you could start to see all of the teams kind of go down to the, skeletal system.
Okay.
So now it's one person out of a team of 7 that was there previously. So I start searching. It's not like I wanted financial. I thought it was like going to be a brief stop of like, hey, so-and-so is hiring, and I applied somehow. At the time, the head of the marketing department was a veteran at Leo Burnett. He was at Leo Burnett, like a high-ranking Leo Burnett exec who came over and started the marketing department for Wintrust. And he interviewed me, not to say, downplay my capabilities, but he must have seen something in me because I didn't have the financial background. It's not like I knew how to market financial services.
But marketing is also part of really financing as well, don't you think?
I think
In a
so.
way.
But I think if you know how to sell, or if you know how to tell a story, or if you know how to understand the features and the benefits, you could sell something.
No, you speak a second language.
Yes,
You
I speak Spanish.
Spanish, okay, fluently, and you write it
And
as
I
well.
read and write Spanish
Okay.
fluently, which is kind of surprising for some, because then when I start to speak, they're like, oh. And it's not elementary level Spanish, so it's helped.
Oh, that's great. So that was was that something that they took into account, you think? Speaking second language?
That never came up, especially with the early days of how we started. It was just growing the bank, so
Okay.
yeah. But I have to thank that part to my grandma.
But
who would
now,
sit down
though, I'm sure that really helps.
Now it does.
So-
It's interesting, I should have mentioned this before.
Right.
We're not in this market, we're not in the Russian market, but I did take 3 years of Russian in high school. So I think at least there was always, a spark to learn about other cultures.
Okay.
Or
Now you just mentioned
languages.
about growing the banks. What does that concept mean?
So with Wintrust and where it started in the early days in 91, out of Lake Forest. Now we are headquartered in Rosemont. Growing the banks means when I started, there was 9 charters compared to the 15 that there are now. But we needed, as marketers, to grow our banks, meaning we needed to work in conjunction with their leadership to devise tactics that, align with their overall strategies of how to grow deposits, grow the mortgage business, grow being able to serve the small business and the larger companies in the area, bring in the wealth business to the bank. So yeah.
And so you've grown with your help, apparently.
Yeah.
They've grown from 9 to 15. And of course you see it expanding further?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, there's a lot of needs in Chicago, and I think building Wintrust here in Chicago, being with a growing institution, there's a lot of talks. I mean, we're very honest, and we know that there's other communities that need our service. So.
And you're the first Latina to hold that position in the community. Does that help you get ahead and help other people want to be a part of the organization that you're working in?
Yeah, recently I had a conversation with a gentleman, an executive director of a nonprofit, and of course I'm not going to disclose which one, but we're doing such great work, and I'm very proud of it. I mean, we're doing very great work in the community. So he was interested in becoming a relationship manager, a banker with us. So excellent. I think it's very genuine.
Very good.
They're very attracted to it.
Good.
And we're serving a lot of the needs in the community.
Forgive me for my ignorance, because I just don't know much about finances or financing. Yeah. But charters, what does that mean? Like you said, from 9 charters to 15, what does that mean?
And honestly, we even don't like that term because it only means something to us. Okay. It doesn't mean anything to the public. It really doesn't.
I'm thinking of charter schools.
I know. Imagine the main banks, if you will, kind of like our leading main banks, which are 15, and then all of the branches that come underneath them. Because as you know, we're ingrained in the community, so it means when I started, they didn't have a Wintrust Community Bank under them. It was just, like Riverside Bank, Gurney Bank, Libertyville Bank. It was always named after the town that we were serving in. And quite frankly, our leadership was also part of that community. Okay. But what I want to say to that is that when we started, it was 9, and now there's 15 main banks. So imagine they're just like the main hub. So and then underneath, now there's 152 branches.
Oh, wow.
So out of the 15, there's 152 branches.
So you
locations.
Have Wintrust as a parent?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The holding company.
The holding company.
Right.
What does holding company mean?
So it's just a place to
it's just a name that's holding the assets, basically in name?
Our assets are also parked at each bank.
All right.
Has individual assets, but we're up to $24 billion in assets at Wintrust. So
when you started, what was the amount of your asset?
I believe there were 7. Don't quote me on that. I would have to. I would have to double check.
No, that's okay. So you have the Wintrust as the parent company, and then you have the charters. Underneath. You're calling them charters,
right?
And are they called something like what are the just one charter?
So when we started, it was, or for example, the ones that I was marketing, they were Libertyville Bank and Trust. So that was one charter.
Okay,
and underneath that came Wakanda Community Bank, Mundelein Community Bank, Gurney Community Bank.
Okay, so it's spread.
So wherever they were located.
So we're going to come back to that concept. We're going to take a break right now, and we're going to come back and talk about that some more.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Well, we took a break from talking with Susana about Wintrust Holding Company, but we're going to come back now and we're going to ask some more questions so we can all find out about the financial holding company that she works for.
Our basic 101 lessons regarding the holding company and the charters and then the banks underneath them. So But the buildings that we go to are the ones that are underneath the charters, is that right?
More than likely.
Okay.
Yeah. But you could walk into one of our chartered banks too. So yeah, it means nothing. Like I said, charter means nothing to the outside. We should be really conscientious about, touting our local banks.
Is it safe to say, though, that charters are bigger than the local banks? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Is the brick and mortar larger? Probably, because of the, cycle of things. It was like the first one to open, and then came, its branches. Or we've acquired some over the years, too, that were, quite frankly, not de novo banks. We didn't start them. Like, Wintrust did not start those banks, because that's the flow of things.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But then we have our subsidiaries, too.
Oh, okay.
So, Wintrust Mortgage, we have our niche market. So Wintrust Mortgage, Wintrust Wealth, and then we have a lot of niches.
Would that be above?
No, it's just all in tandem, I would say.
Okay.
We don't want to say one is higher than the other. It's just,
Something
all of our Wintrust circle. Yeah.
So when it comes to services, you have the mortgage that you offer.
We're here to serve you from, coaching you from rent to own. So you're a renter today, you want to move into your home. We have programs that coach you all the way to being ready to lend money to you and, for you to obtain a mortgage. So mortgage.
Do you do that? Do you require that of your borrowers before they?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. You can come to us and find,
Education.
You're coming to us to obtain a mortgage at the end of the day.
Okay.
But hopefully we do a great job,
Right.
and you're in your business.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and
you
your
have the
family's
mortgage,
business.
and then what's
Wintrust Wealth.
Okay. Is that the
So
investment?
Investment arm.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything from investing 101 to estate planning, trusts.
When Patrice has all these millions that she has.
Then we have to get those to yours too.
That would be nice if I could get somebody to tell me what to do with it. Now, you came into Wintrust as a younger person, as it were. Has that changed your perspective on how to approach the market since you started so young at Wintrust? Has that changed any?
I think it made me a little sharper. I started, and I would be willing to admit this, with a lot of credit card debt, because you get a job, you're very excited, you have all of these offers, right, for credit cards. And I sought out a banker at Libertyville, and I said, this is what I did. I got into a lot of credit card debt. So that's me, 24, and by 25, I paid it off. But I think knowing that you're surrounding yourself with people that really know what to do, and you just pick up on it, So I think it helps you be a little sharper.
And so as you've moved up, what do you see yourself doing next? Or is this where you're going to be and just take over the company completely?
I'm going to take over the company.
Very good. That's the answer I wanted.
That's what I'm doing.
So in terms of marketing, is it more selling the business? It's the company itself that they give good service, or that they know what they're doing? What's the marketing angle? How do you market that?
The marketing angle, I would say it's almost more on the lines of corporate citizenship, where Wintrust has a slew of offerings, capabilities, services, expertise, and here we are connecting two organizations. And those organizations could be, professional associations, chambers, nonprofits, any group out there. So it's really presenting our entire capability. So those are interesting conversations to have, because you know a little bit of everything, but not, enough to be dangerous. But you still know a little bit that when we're talking to any organization, we know how to,
Okay, so when you connect with them, what do you do with them? Do you have a meeting with them? Do you have town hall meetings with them? How do you approach them?
So the organizations that we work with, knowing that some are very B2B in nature, some help out kids and families, some help out renters, or on the, they're more on the home servicing. So depending on their angle or area of focus, you are right. We have a meeting, right? Usually my days are spent with executive directors and then their business development directors. So it's understanding, and most of the times at this stage, they've had either a very negative or very positive experience with a banking institution, but then they're saying, okay, how do we really work with you? And we're of the opinion that we don't like to, give our sponsorship dollars or partnership dollars for one night. We're really here to serve, and it's a genuine, starts from the top down, from our CEO, Ed Waymer, all the way down. It's a very genuine approach to service. So it's not us connecting with organizations saying, oh, do you have gala coming up? Do you have, X thing that you're looking for dollars for? No, it's what are your what does your audience need, and how can we help them? And then how can you help us achieve our strategic goals?
And I think
Does that
that's
make
that's a
sense?
really great approach, though, because, I mean, as the president of this organization, I always view partnership with organizations, financial institutions or law firms that support our organization. I'm always thinking, what are we doing to give back to them as well? Because I think that's important, because when you're supporting us, we want to be able to support you as well. And we're so grateful, by the way, that you're sponsoring our cable show. I mean, this is really, thank you. And
Quite an honor.
But we want to, of course, make sure that, you know, your organization is, I see it everywhere. Like when I go to the Sox game, go Sox, you know, I see the Wintrust, and going down 9094, I see a big sign, Wintrust. Your organization is really out there supporting the neighborhoods and looking at small businesses and helping them grow.
Oh yeah,
We're going to take a break now. We're starting to talk about sponsorship. We're going to talk about it some more. We're going to take a break at this moment in time and come back.
So a noun is a person, place, or thing. A verb is an action word. Max, something to share with the class? Come on. Shh. Thank you. How tired I am of this unbearable distance between us. How I long for the toll of the recess bell. Have you forgotten me? Grown mindless of me? Tell me I am not riding into an abyss, or that is what will become of my heart.
Help provide books to schools in dire need. Support the Indigo Love of Reading Fund.
When we took our break, we were talking about sponsorship, and so we're going to continue that conversation with Ms. Meza. Susana, we were talking about sponsorship. Is that the term that you use now, or has it shifted to something else?
Well, that's a good question, because the sponsorship usually denotes us spending money for one evening, if you will. One initiative, one ask from any given organization. So really, we're looking at partnerships with our multitude of organizations that we work with. Again, whether it's professional associations, chambers of commerce, any programs out there. So we really want to say, okay, who do you serve? Who's your audience? What do they need? What kind of coaching do they need? What kind of thought leadership do they need? Anything where we could really provide our services and expertise. And then we come together. Yes, there would be some sort of, you know, partnership or investment dollars towards whatever they were asking, but we really look to expand our dialogue between, you know, that one sitting all the way for years to come. We don't just want to say, okay, here's a check and see you later. And those are really genuine conversations that we have internally too.
So now you're based in Lake Forest and you work out of Rosemont. Have they come into the city, because that's suburbs, as it were, in terms of Chicago?
Right.
Have they come into the city doing things of that nature as well?
Oh yeah.
Great.
We moved into our corporate headquarters in 2012.
Okay.
So April of 2012, we moved from being based out of Lake Forest to 9700 West Higgins in Rosemont. So now we're all under the same roof, all of the corporate teams.
Okay.
So we were a little scattered, but you know, there was part of the growing pains. So really, while I started working in Lake Forest in the marketing department, when the marketing department were our boss and me, one of three, we moved out of Lake Forest to Skokie. So that was the transformation of Wintrust as it grew. But now we're in Rosemont, so we're all under the same hub. But with that said, you're right, we are moving in communities. We're in the Mayfair community, we're in the Pullman community, we're in the Beverly community. Gosh, it goes on and on. We're in Logan Square. You know, we're at 70 West Madison here. We're in Streeterville and River North, and it goes on and on. And they keep evaluating. You know, our leadership is evaluating on where is the next place where we need to serve the community.
Oh, that's good.
What are the criteria that you have in mind in determining which partnership to enter into? I'm sure you get a lot of asks.
Oh, we get a lot of asks. And it's starting, and we're in the midst of it, to say which ones align with our strategic goals. And it's really hard to determine that. And it's kind of harder even to say no, because those are communities that, or organizations that, they're doing great things to help. But we don't have, we don't have that much to go around. We need to be smart, say, okay, which ones really align with our strategic goals and our values?
Well, not only that, in addition to that, of course, it's a business decision, right? So in your situation, when we were talking about partnership, of course, like how can we give back to you as well? I know that you were looking for small businesses to grow, and really, in terms of our membership with the Women's Bar and other bar organizations for that matter, they're comprised of small law firms that are needing funding from a financial institution. So maybe they don't know that.
Right.
But they can get that from Wintrust. So why don't we take this opportunity to inform our members as to how you can help the small law firms or even mid-sized law firms, help them grow their practices.
Well, before I get into, yes, we want to be their bank, right? We want to hold on to their deposits if they need to grow their bank or their business. We want to lend to them. We really flex our muscle on the education side. So while the attorneys in this case are running their own shop, their own firm, large or small, sometimes that's their expertise more often than not, right? They're not the ones that know how do you leverage social media. Now that you said, the dynamics of the legal community, how do you leverage social media to grow your sales? How do you market? What's the HR side of things? So we really start to align ourselves with like the Women's Bar Association or any other organizations and say, what's the programming that your attorney circle needs? The sphere of the Women's Bar Association, what is the education that they need? And we provide that either directly through our experts or partnering again with the other organizations that provide that capabilities or those capabilities. Is that?
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I think we wanted to provide, or we have provided as well, as to how to grow their businesses, I should say, and that's interesting that you actually do provide
we
that.
care
so
about
that's great.
that. Yeah. If, for example, we've had a long-standing relationship with SCORE, the nonprofit organization.
SCORE is a nonprofit?
SCORE Chicago. Yeah.
Yes.
So they started as a Service Corps of
sure.
retired execs,
That's
but
right.
these are now they're not retired execs. They have changed their model to be, inclusive of folks that are 35 and ready to sell their company, but they know a lot and can share that expertise.
What is SCORE? Because I'm thinking of
it's
SCORE.
It's a business organization, and they've been providing service for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So
So they started as retired execs.
Right.
I see.
But now it's those folks in the trenches doing it, owning their own company, managing their own company. But imagine tapping some of those experts to say, okay, how do I use YouTube to grow sales? There's a way to do that. And I didn't know, so I've sat in all of these workshops.
Okay.
But the point there is, okay, the Women's Bar Association has these small firms, larger firms that need that part of, that part of the education to grow their firm. Well, we'll provide that for free through our partnerships. So it's all collaboration. It's genuine collaboration. It's not even saying, we know everything. It's, hey, if we don't know, we're going to find the folks that can teach, your audience that.
And of course, when I met Susana, it was funny because we had lunch and we just talked for an hour.
Yeah,
and she said we had lunch at Federino's, and I didn't, of course, as judges, we can't solicit. But she said, I'm really impressed. You never even asked me for money. So,
and quite frankly, I believe, and I've noticed this, at some of the better relationships, the start of the relationship, it's more without a proposal, no sponsorship deck. It's just, what do you need, and what do we need, and what can we offer, and let's just meet in the middle. I think those are some of the better conversations that we've had.
Right. It's like, how do we help you meet your needs, and how can you help us meet our needs is, I think, in line with your newfound theory of partnership.
We want to be Chicago's bank. That's our.
Oh, that's a good motto. Yeah, I like that.
And it's not just a tagline that we're going to slap on something or we've slapped on something else. We're Chicago's bank. So
excellent. Okay.
Wintrust was founded here in Chicago, right?
Yes, in Lake Forest, but
it's still Chicago.
It's still Chicago. Well, actually, it's been great talking with you. This is our first segment of speaking with you this evening. It's been a great time. We're going to talk some more about those partnerships and sharing and all those things we've been talking about with regard to Wintrust. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed our show today. We're going to have a second segment with Susana Meza, Vice President of Marketing at Wintrust Financial Corporation.
Can't get enough
Thank you
of
for
her.
having me.
And she's going to be back.
Oh,
So
thank
we still have lots of information to get from her. So I look forward to the second segment. Thank you.
Thank you.